Hey YouTube, this is Firewizard23 here for another book review. This is Scorpia, the 5th book in the Alex Rider series by Anthony Horowitz. Spoilers. Okay, so as we last left off, Alex found out that his father used to work for an organization called Scorpia. And he is dead set on trying to figure out where that is. And he was given a clue that it's somewhere in Italy. He goes on vacation with his friend... What's his friend's name? Tom. With one of his best mates, Tom, from school. You know, they went on vacation together. I think they went with Tom's. Yeah, they went with, they went to go visit Tom's older brother, who happens to live in Italy. And he's like, I'm looking for Scorpia. Though he has really no idea where to begin, but he ends up finding... He sees a boat that has he sees a house with a scorpion on it. He's like, what? And he gets a lady to explain to him, what is this? And and this lady in rough translation says it's called the Widow's Palace. Though she seems very skeptical about telling him anything more. Alex sneaks inside this really big party inside to figure out what this place is. And he overhears something, and he goes into this office trying to find more information. And upon passing a rug that he thought was just like the skin of a tiger, realizes it's an actual real tiger. Someone finds him, puts the tiger asleep before it can attack him with this remote control type thing, but then captures him and locks him downstairs where he's like, you're going to stay down here and you're going to die. As it turns out, because they're in, what's that place? Venice. They're in Venice, so it's a room that always floods when the tides come in. So it starts flooding. Alex manages to find a loose board where he can swim underneath, and barely within an inch of his life, he manages to get out of it before he's drowned. And he gets back into the canals of Venice. He says, I gotta follow these guys. I know something's going on, and I gotta follow them. And he finds, through a little scouting, he follows... I'm totally spacing on how he does it, but he found out where there's some kind of factory or some kind of plant that they're involved in somehow, though he's not sure why. He borrows his friend's brother's parachute so he can do a... I forget what it's called, but it's this thing where you go basically to random cliffs and you just jump off the cliff and open up the parachute after a short period of time. I forget what it's like free diving or something like that. I forget what it's called. But he manages to land on top of the roof, which is the only place he sees that wouldn't be occupied. He starts sneaking around. And he bumps into some guards, and he also bumps into the guy who tried to kill him. And and the guy's initially is a little not shocked to see him, but he's like, "Oh, Alex, I'm glad I ran into you." He actually saves him from this guard, and as they drive away, he actually set up a detonation thing and blew up the entire factory. And he takes him to meet a woman who wanted to meet him once she heard his name. The guy is called Nigel, I believe is his name. Is it Nigel? To a woman named Julia Rothman. I think it's Nigel? Niall, beg pardon, Niall. But it takes him to meet a woman named Julia Rothman, who... She is impressed to meet him because she recognizes his last name. She's like, Alex Rider, you mean, and then John Rider's son? She wants to meet him. And this is where I think the plot kind of falls off the rails, or at least when you read this whole thing and then you kind of have to go backwards to read what's happening. She basically explains all the things that... She explains what Scorpia is. Scorpia is a criminal organization that was established many years ago that deals in sabotage, corruption... intimidation and assassination? I forget what it actually translates the word Scorpia in some way, and John Rider was part of that. To her statement, John Rider was part of that. In fact, it seems she gets very misty-eyed whenever she talks about him, because there was obviously a love connection there. And she asks him about all the adventures he's been going through, and he's like, well, this has been a hell of a thing, and she's like, she will totally repay for the parachute, because, she feels bad because they almost killed him, and she's like, oh my god, you're John Rider's son. What the hell are we doing? But she was amazed at the Houdini act he pulled. And then he explained everything he did to get in that factory. And she said, I will totally repay him for the parachute that was lost. That's the least I can do. Because he's like, here in Scorpio, we take care of our own. Alex explains all the stuff that's been going on with MI6. And she starts playing a little mind game with him. Being like, all they've been doing is using you, but we realize what you're actually capable of. Based on everything you've told me, would you like to join Scorpia? And Alex says yes. And I'm like, wait a minute. These people are evil! Like, they're categorically evil. This is something I do not This is one of the weirdest choices I think this character makes. And the only justification I think we're getting is that it's about... Alex sees it as a balancing of scales. That he is doing this to get away from the MI6, who he thinks are bad guys, who have been using him, but he's going with people who are blatantly bad guys. Alex has to realize that he's been doing, as much as maybe he's been coerced and tricked in some ways in doing things in the previous books, he's literally joining a criminal organization. And Julia's making it sound like, oh, you know, this has been a balancing of scales. Scorpia's been kind of working with them because there are things we accomplish too. That, you know, they try to make their accomplishments, we try to make our accomplishments. It's a working relationship. No, I don't buy that. I'm sorry. It is... Anthony, it's one thing I cannot accept in this book because you did not sell me on that. You did not sell me that Alex is doing this. I am not convinced of Alex's motivation here. But he ends up going to the Scorpia training camp. And he's learning like killing and how to do this and stuff. And, you know, they're giving him an injection and stuff because, like, you know, you're low on vitamins and stuff. And they end up taking him, saying, you know, we showed him, like, you know, those block tests, those Rorschach tests. They give him some of those tests, and they're realizing that his mentality is really kind of wrong because we wanted him to be able to kill, but he doesn't really seem to have a killer instinct. And she's like, I have the perfect plan. And Julia's like, I have the perfect plan. She's like, he's going to go kill Miss Jones. Oh, the woman who works for MI6. In the meantime, they've actually learned that Alex Rider has been taken by Scorpia, and they're like, and they realize he did it willfully, but they're like, Mr. Blunt's like, we need to get him back alive, whatever it takes. So Alex, they concoct this plan for him to sneak back into England and go into where she lives and shoot her. That's the plan. He manages to get inside, and there's like that thing where he's, you know, you're pointing the gun at the person. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to do it. Well, then what are you waiting for, Alex? And like she's like trying to talk him down and stuff because there was all these defenses that he had to get by just to get to her. He actually does end up firing, though. It crashes into like this plexiglass glass thing, and like a whole bunch of people rush in and capture him. He's like, I failed. And then Alan Blunt comes in to talk with him. He's like, did you attempt to kill Miss Jones? And his answer was yes. That was exactly my intention. And then he's trying to get Alex back on his side, saying, look, we need your help because you've been with Scorpia. And he gets Alex to talk to him about all the stuff he did with Scorpia, the secret island where he was doing the training and all that. And he's like, we've got a bigger problem, because Alex was hearing about some kind of plan called Invisible Sword while he was with Scorpia, and they successfully killed like an entire English soccer team without even doing anything. They died, like, they all just like passed out while getting off the plane, and nothing happened. Nobody attacked them, nobody shot them, nothing, and they don't know how it happened. And they're wondering if Alex heard anything that could help. And, you know, it's either that or we can have you, you know, prosecuted for all this. You know, what do you want? And he's like, fine. Alex, even realizing himself that he really didn't want to kill Miss Jones, he actually moved the gun very slightly as he fired. He never actually would have hit her. But they have this big meeting where they're like, look, because Scorpia set out a big set of plans for the American government, saying, you know, for the British government, saying you have to convince America to give us $5 billion. They have to disarm all the nuclear weapons. These ridiculous plans. These things that would just never happen. There's no way it's going to happen. And what they're saying, if you don't, we will kill all the children in Britain. Like some terrible thing. They're going to do this terrible thing. Again with the kids. Like, they want to kill children. I don't really understand. There's been a real attempt to, and I think it's the thing of it being the Alex Rider series age 14, but like, it's all about kids. You'd think adult organizations would care more about like adult things, not kids. I mean, I guess that's something really precious you can attack and it will get adults' attention. But there seems to be a disposition in children's writing with the children. So they're having this big meeting. You know, what could this be? How is this possible? How is it possible you could just kill a bunch of people without even touching that? It doesn't make any sense. And Alex is like, injections. What? Injections. Because he's put some stuff together when he was on the island, because he remembers getting the injection, and he remembers somebody talking about like radio frequencies, and what they realize they're doing is all the children recently received inoculations. And those inoculations, they've now reasoned, got contaminated. There is a bit of, I think they said it was cyanide that is inside like a gold casing. And what they're going to do is broadcast a radio signal that will shatter the gold, and this item would be inside the heart at this point. Once that shatters, the cyanide enters the bloodstream, it would kill people instantly. Henceforth, invisible sword. So there's this big plan, to find the towers where they could broadcast a signal, and they end up finding towers that actually are fake. But they need Alex to act. They decide, Alex, you need to go back to Scorpia. You need to figure out where this is happening, and you need to contact us. And they get all the people together, all the team together, and Smithers is there, and he gives him a retainer. And he says, you're going to put this in your mouth, because they need it to be something that they wouldn't see, that Alex can activate. Not like a gum or a watch or anything. They need actually something they wouldn't see. And Alex practices for a while, so his speech sounds normal wearing the retainer. Because he did have a plan if he actually killed Miss Jones. He had to go back and act like, he's all scared and stuff because he actually just killed his first person. So he goes back. He goes back into the menage of working for Scorpia. And, oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I totally forgot something. She does convince him. There is a slight tipping point, but I still say it's kind of bullshit. Because she's like, because Yasan in the previous book had said, they killed your father. And Julie goes on to explain that there was an exchange thing going on where they had captured John Ryder, and MI6 had captured John Ryder. They had captured one of their operatives, and they agreed to one of the opposite operatives, and they'd agreed to do an exchange. And they filmed the exchange just so they could review it and say, we held up our part of the bargain. They do have, Scorpia does have some kind of ethics. I think that's kind of bullshit, but that's just me. And so he shows Alex this video that his father was killed by MI6. And enhancing the video, we see the person who's giving the command, and it was Miss Jones. Henceforth, Alex's additional rage and his potential intent to kill her, and why he joined Scorpia. I still think it's bullshit because people are evil, but still. He's 14, you can kind of go with it. So backing up, he goes back into Scorpia pretending to be really... They killed Miss Jones, and they made a whole big thing of it, like she died and stuff. And they meet him at an undisclosed hotel. They, transport him secretly, and they bring him to a hotel where Julia's there and Niall is there, and, you killed her? Yes, you did. And they, have him totally change his clothes, and Niall strips him down, not seeing anything else. No, he's not. They just, they want to cover themselves, but no, they don't find anything. Niall never checking his mouth. And they take him to, this museum on the side of the town. And there they're going to release this giant hot air balloon into the air that will broadcast a signal that will kill all the kids. And Alex, the moment he sees it, he realizes it, he clicks the little thing on the retainer to get MI6's attention to where it is. And Julia's just watching him very carefully as she's explaining the plan, because she kind of knows something's up here. Something doesn't make any sense. You can kind of see that she's testing him, because she's, holding his cheek and stuff, she thinks something's weird. Because the retainer is almost practically invisible. You'd have to see it. But he says something that isn't consistent with what she said, with anything she said about the plan. And he's like, uh-oh. And he's like, what's in your mouth? She's like, spit it out. And there's the retainer, and she smashes it, seeing all the wires. Niall, we may have company. And Alex, realizing the injection that he received when he was with Scorpia, it's actually the same thing, that their plan was that if they basically made themselves a backup plan that he would die. They could basically just sacrifice him if this didn't work. I now realize that thinking about this, that it wasn't so much that they were going to kill him, because had he gone through with this, they could have just simply taken him out of England, and there wouldn't have been any necessity to kill him if he actually did it. Because if he's not around the waves, the particle leaves, the thing in the bloodstream would be dissipated in a month. It wouldn't matter. It would just simply pass away from the bloodstream. But a big fight ensues. MI6 comes in. There's a big fight. Alex manages to climb up into the balloon, realizing he has to try to save his own life. He causes the whole thing to explode so the signal doesn't kill anybody. And he saves the day. And then he's back with Alan Blunt and Miss Jones. And they sit down, and Miss Jones very calmly explains... And this is where I think the narrative kind of dropped a bomb here. Ms. Jones explains that John Ryder was a double agent. He acted like he was working for Scorpia. It was a trap. The whole thing was a set-up trap so they could learn more about Scorpia. In fact, the kid who was being traded for John Ryder, he comes in, he's now a man now, and explains what John did, that actually he saved his life. Because as they were passing on the bridge, he's like, there's going to be a firefight, run. That there's going to be a shot, run. Because the whole thing was faked. He looked like he got killed. And he wasn't killed at that event. They just made a big publicity thing that he was. But in truth, there was an explosion that killed his mother in an airplane crash, in an air flight. And that flight was also where John was, and they died. It's like, oh. And actually, it was actually a way for John to get out because Alex had just been born at that point, and he didn't want his son to be involved in that. He wanted some time with his son was the issue. So that is the end of Scorpia, and when we do learn that Ms. Jones' name is Tulip. And at the very end of the book, we see Alex Rider walking out of the MI6 building, and a sniper shoots him from Scorpia. And he's having like this dreams thing where he's seeing his father in camel fatigues, and he's seeing his mother, and he just kind of passes out. I'll just leave it at that. There are 5 more books in this series. This is Firewizard23. Take care and bye-bye for now, everybody. Oh, no, wait, stop. I forgot when the narrative dropped the bomb. Okay, Yasen Gorovich said right to Alex's face when he was dying in the previous book, your father worked for us. MI6 killed him. Wait a minute. So did Julia... Wait. Hey, everybody hold right there. I'm going to look up the actual passage because something's not making sense here of the... Definitely gonna be a shot. It's being sold, I have to tell you. I feel like I'm getting conflicting information. I can't believe that Scorpia didn't know, and by extension Julia Rothman knowing, that John was a double agent. It seems really weird that Scorpia was completely in the dark, that they had been completely duped. But that's what Ms. Rothman, at the end of this book, that's what Ms. Jones is basically contending. That Scorpia never knew that John was a double agent. That was a complete... Alex didn't go on the plane vacation to south of France because he had an ear infection. Julia Rothman found out that she had been tricked. But then that would... Wait a minute. Yeah, it says right here, somehow Julia Rothman found out that she had been tricked. So, wait a minute. If that was true, then why did Yasen... I can't believe Yasen would never know that then. Why did Yasen say at the end of the book that... Why did Yasen on his deathbed try to trick Alex Rider into going into Scorpia by saying that your father worked for us? Why did he say it on his deathbed without any kind of formality? Did he want Julia Rothman to kill him in Scorpia? Because if that was true, then Julia knew that Alex's father betrayed her. She would have known it was a betrayal. It's weird. There's something about the connectedness of the story there I don't get. I'm missing something. And I don't know if the rest of the story will ever cover that. It bugs me. Well, this is Firewizard23. Take care and bye-bye for now, everybody.